In this video, we are going to discuss about the nanomeasurement tools that we use in the field of nanotechnology to carry out the measurement process at the nanoscale level. Nanomeasurement tools are the tools or instruments that help us visualize and/or characterize something at the nanoscale level. Visualizing what nanoscale will look like is a very difficult task, as things at nanoscale are very, very tiny. Let me help you to visualize it. The atoms are about 10,000 times smaller than the size of bacteria. And talking about bacteria, it is about 10,000 times smaller than the size of mosquito. An atomic nucleus is about 100,000 times smaller than the size of an atom. It means there is a lot of empty space inside an atom. Now think about manipulating the materials at that scale. You need to be very accurate and precise to work at such small scale. For that you need special tools and instruments to manipulate objects at nanoscale. There is a vast amount of tools and different techniques used within nanomeasurement, each with the unique means of helping us understand a material. There are two principles of measurement. First one is to define or discover properties, and the second one is the use of appropriate tool. The property you want to measure will affect what measurement tool you use. For example, if you want to measure your height, you can use a ruler for that. But if you want to measure the diameter of a hair strand, then the ruler will not work. You need a different tool for that, and the same is applicable for nanotech. For visualizing and characterizing a material or a sample, we use a technique known as bombardment, that is bombarding particles onto the surface of sample. Different particles that we use for bombardment are light particles, or we can say photons, ions, and electrons. A beam of electrons or light particles allow us to generate a magnified image of the sample. Each type of particles that are ions, electrons, and photons interact with the specimen in a way to reveal different information about the material. An optical microscope uses photons for generating a magnified image of an object. It uses a light source that emits photons towards the surface of an object. But an optical microscope magnifies an object to the range of micrometers but has failed to enter in the nanometer range. But there is a different use of an optical microscope, other than magnifying object, in nanotechnology that I will tell in the upcoming videos. For magnifying an object to nanoscale, we need a more powerful microscope, that is electron microscope. An electron microscope bombards a beam of electron onto a sample and generates an image. I will make a more detailed video on this microscope later. The reason behind the use of electrons over photons is that electrons have a shorter wavelength than the photons, and thus have more magnifying power. Ions are heavy particles and is more heavier than the rest of the two particles, and are generally used for material removal processes like sputtering. Properties that we can determine using nanomeasurement tools includes how big, or in our case how small, something is, what it is made of, information about the molecular structure, and the strength of micro-sized or nano-sized features. We use different tools like SEM, scanning electron microscope, TEM, transmission electron microscope, STEM, scanning transmission electron microscope, AFM, atomic force microscope, micro-CT, X-ray spectroscopy, optical microscope, etc. We will discuss about all these microscopes in the upcoming videos.